Hi YouTube. I'm just gonna kick back and talk for a while. I'm not teaching, preaching. I'm just chatting with my friends. Hope your weekend is going well. I'm a little better than yesterday. I'm like full of a couple different medications, and Doug brought me home some stuff called wedding cake. It is pretty good. So yeah. Boy, I felt like I wanted to die yesterday, but I really thought about walking outside and just dropping in the yard. I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt so terrible, and last night I had to sleep sitting up, and finally some medicine that I found in a drawer. I took some, and it's for what is it? For coughs, for decongestion and that type of thing. Doug did bring home some Alka-Seltzer, but they didn't have the one that I wanted, and one store had it. They wanted $16 for like 12 tablets or something, which is really a little bit crazy, but I don't know. Anyway, so I eventually found something that worked this morning, and I'm feeling a little better now, but like even last night, it was a little hard. I did get some sleep though, but I put, like I say, two great big pillows where I was just basically just hanging on the pillow with my head, the top pillow, just to keep my lungs as elevated as I could. So, yeah. So I know it's some kind, I really think, I can't prove it, but I really think that things have gotten worse. I usually only have like my hay fever in the fall, like I was telling you. Not the last 2 springs. I've been sick in the springtime, which is not, I don't know. Maybe I get sick a couple times a year, but usually doesn't hit me as hard. But I am getting older too, so. But I did exercise today. I couldn't yesterday. So. And I'm glad I made that soup the day before, and I had Doug get me some soda crackers I put in there last night. They were good, just fresh, and I love crackers, like any kind of cracker or crunchy thing like that. I love them. So anyway, like some people with pretzels, they like soft pretzels. I like them, and I've made them, but I prefer crunchy ones, you know. So, like I say, I'm just shooting the breeze with you all today. I do have like a tickle in the back of my throat, and I know it feels like dust particles is what it actually feels like. How are you all feeling around where you are? Do you see any difference in your health? Like when they spray on you, do you feel like you're squished from the air down? That's what it feels like, a squishy feeling to me, you know? So, you're going to have to excuse me. I'm going to be moving a little bit back and forth. I don't want to sit on the chair. It's just too much today to sit straight up. I've been sitting up all night. I need a break. I spent my childhood sleeping elevated. It is hard, you know. So I got water and I got coffee. I drank some milk this morning because I had to take some medicine and I had to have something in me, you know. So I got all kinds of things in me right now. I'm pretty sure I've got it under control. Like, nothing's gonna harm me. It's nothing really horrible or synthetic, you know. Too synthetic anyway. Even aspirins that you buy in the store are made synthetically unless they say like acetaminophen in there. I think it's called acetamin. Ah, the heck with it. I think you know what I mean. There's different types of aspirins. Not all of them are real, is what I'm saying. I have some that are probably fake. They work, but they do say aspirin on them, but I don't know. They're Walmart ones. I'm not so sure about that. So, but yeah, I had some cold reliever thing, a dollar store one. I had a couple bottles and boxes of them in a drawer, and I pulled them out and started reading them because we had got some stuff to keep on hand in case bad times or whatever, just to have it. And I think I was leery of taking it because, well, dollar store stuff, but it worked, so I'm happy. They had a really good, it was like a Claritin. I take Loratadine, so does Doug for allergies, but it's the same as Claritin. And they had like a dollar store Claritin that works really good for opening your sinuses or whatever problems you have, Some people's sinuses and throats really aren't constructed as big as other people, and sometimes they just don't work as well. The same with people's lungs. If you're, I think it has a lot to do with environment too, like what you're around. Because cigarette smoke doesn't bother me, but get me around a cigar. And I think I did it to myself. I think a lot of my allergies are from overuse of certain things. Well, like black plastic. I'm allergic to black plastic. So, yeah, there I go touching it. Well, what do? It's around everything just about, But plastic in general isn't good for anybody. But where was I going with that? Somewhere. I'll get there. You know, you know how it goes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I always do when it's uploading. Yeah, never fails. Yeah. Oh, with allergies, I did it to myself. Um, like, I'm allergic to peas. I used to eat tons of peas. I would, even for lunch, I would just open a can of peas when my kids were little and just eat them. Even cold, it didn't matter. The pea protein, and then I'd get busy with whatever I had to do, you know, that type of thing. Depending on what I was doing in my life. I mean, like at work, I didn't take a can of peas to work, but yeah. One thing I did like, though, I like pretzels. They're little ones I used to get at Walmart when I worked there. They were little square pretzels, and they had peanut butter in the middle, so I'd buy a milk and have them and go sit in my truck. Or drive over to the lake by the picnic area and just still sit in my truck, listen to tunes, or just have peace and quiet and have a small lunch and go back to work. But yeah. So anyway, like with peas and different things I'm allergic to, maybe we have a quota, on different things. I don't know. It's just a theory I have, you know. Like I ate so many cherries one time, my friend and I sitting in a cherry tree. Worst place you can go when it's raining is to climb a tree, but it was only sprinkling, and I didn't consider it. We were still pretty young, maybe 10, 11, maybe 12. Somewhere around in there, me and her did some goofy things. So did our mothers. Our mothers were friends too. But, yeah, I got so sick. I ate so many cherries. I did that with green apples, the color green, not just green, but they're a little more tart than the sweet ones. So I got sick on them. I got sick on cherries. I didn't get sick on grapefruit and oranges, although I used to like just make like a breakfast out of, you know, either one or the two, because we go pick them, you know, and then have some for like the week with my kids and that type of thing. But when we lived down south. But I am allergic to citrus, so I don't know. And I used to make like orange bread, and you use the rind in the orange bread, and I'm allergic to red and yellow and orange dye, but especially the red, and everybody is. It's horrible for you. Plus it's natural dye, but I don't know, good luck finding something with that in there. But anyway, back to the point. Orange isn't typically like orange like when you buy them in the store. They're dyed. And I used to take some of the rind. You know, I'd wash it, but you take the rind and you grate it to put in your orange bread. It's part of the recipe, and I used to make that a lot. And I just wonder if some of the things that I've ingested have, like now I have adverse effects to them because I ate so much of it. I never have been able to drink orange juice just without it affecting me. If I drank some orange juice right now, if I didn't drink water right away, my throat would swell and I'd start choking. So I'm allergic to peanuts, but it just doesn't act that way with me. But some people do. They get like their breathing problems. And slightly with my breathing problems with the peanuts, a little more on the backside of everything the next day with having problems with my intestines because of it. I think it starts swelling in my intestines and then makes it harder. So now I'm talking about that type of spectrum of things. Yeah, I don't know where people are like, I can't follow you. Well, obviously, you know, scram. You're too slow for me. You know, it is true. If you can't follow along with a normal conversation, no matter what comes to a person's mind, especially if they have a very inventive mind and imagination, you'll never keep up. You know, just like walking or running a race with whatever, you most likely, even at my age and even being sick, wouldn't even want to walk with me because you wouldn't be keeping up. You know, it's like it with the program. Slow poke, you know. Oh, almost had my cigarette fall. Roll off the table. Rollin', rollin', rollin'. Keep them doggies rollin'. Rawhide. I can't remember the rest song now. Something, all kinds, or it's about a cowboy. All kinds of weather. Keep them doggies moving. Rawhide. Good show. I think the guy's name was Rowdy McDaniel, and it was played by a young Clint Eastwood. The show Rawhide was a series that would be on like on Saturdays, where most of my Western shows were on. That was one of them. And Gunsmoke and The Big Valley, Death Valley. All my cowboy shows were on in the weekend. So, I had cap guns that were six shooters and holsters and cowboy hat. You know, a red one for a girl. You know, that type of thing. When I was a kid. Had a holster, you know. For my, it just fit one gun. The other gun wouldn't fit in there. So I gave it to a friend of mine, you know. And then after a while, I gave the whole thing to my little cousin. So, just funny. You can hurt yourself with those cap guns. I think they discontinued them because kids were hurting themselves. You put a roll of them in your 6-shooter, and it was a cap gun that looked like a 6-shooter. And sometimes they'd spark back, depending. You'd get a real big one with a lot of gunpowder in there. We used to take them, they were these red rolls of dots, and you'd have to feed it through this gun, and then you could shoot it if you got it just right. But then if you get down to the end of the roll or whatever, then we just take a rock and do it on like something hard, like the concrete or whatever, and pop them, and you could like hurt yourself a little bit. And so these whiny cream puff babies, their parents, oh, her little hand got burnt from a cap. Oh, okay. Yeah, discontinue them from the brave ones then. Now that may not include firecrackers, but yeah, kids should have a certain amount of gunpowder in their life when they're kids, I think. Yeah. You know what happens if you feed a dog gunpowder? It'll go wicked on you. You can take a chunk of hamburger and put, I think it's about a half a gram of gunpowder in there and feed it to your dog, and it will become an attack dog. And if you give it enough of it, of course, it's going to die, but not necessarily so. No, I have never done it, but yeah, I know people who have. I was just thinking this morning, sometimes I wish a dog would just show up in my yard, and a lot of things have, like kitties and chickens and all kinds of weird things. I had a donkey and a horse in my yard one day. There's been sheep. The neighbor's chickens went trekking through here last year. That was pretty cute. Just the whole flock of them. Yeah. I was at work one time. I was working at a place called the Country Store over by our lake, and our local lake. And I'm looking out the window, and there goes an emu running down the road. I'm like freaking out, and this guy with this had a station wagon, if you know what they are from the old days, car where you can put stuff in the back and whatever. So he pulls up and he asked if I had seen this giant bird that there had been 2 of them that got loose. A couple different times they did. They ended up shooting one of them. He had one of them in the back of his station wagon. I said, well, I'm not going to tell you if you're just going to kill it. He's like, he was responsible for them because they were his birds, and they got out. So, but then the cops stopped in the local police highway patrol and said he was also tracking it. And I said, well, the guy who owns the bird, he just went that way, and the bird's up that way too. Went about a half hour ago. He's just booking down the highway about 30 miles an hour, It's pretty cool. But, it's not a common thing in Minnesota. They're not native here. I do believe emus are South American. And then, like, what are they called? Them great big one. Ostriches, aren't they African or like Syrian or Egyptian, somewhere up and around there? I'm not sure. I used to know stuff like that. Today it's not a good day for the geography of the earth. I used to like to take these little quizzes. Nobody would play them with me on Facebook. like with language and Bible and mathematics, mechanics, electronics, history, biology, physics, everything. I'd take these tests, and then you could put what, show what your score was and stuff on all these things that I scored very high on, and nobody would play these games with me. Well, it wasn't really a game. I took it rather serious. And it's like, why don't you take them, like with geography, if you don't know the earth and what people call it places, and find out what names were changed in countries and different things is really cool too, because you can see who the conquerors were of that area by the name of it, like Rome and, that type of thing. But, or who owns it, technically. Oh, yeah. But just because they call Israel, Israel, is it really? Some people don't think that the true chosen ones really are in Israel. And no tribes were lost. They found them. There was no problem. They were always north. They didn't go anywhere. It's just like the dark cabal stemming out of Turkey and then going like Slavic and then up Nordic, China, back and forth, all the way down south, up into the, Arctic, Antarctic, everywhere, and back and forth all the time. But I kept track of them. I mean, I was taught to keep track of them. So, and I know many of their names and their name changes through the mothers, which is an important thing. It is that Bohemian bloodline that is the dark cabal. And that can include Czechoslovakian, Slavic, Hungarian, Russian, Polish, those types. And I could name a few other, but, Romanian, Tasmanian. I'm not kidding, it's not just Dracula. It's where did that bloodline go, Assuming Dracula was a real person. If we were going to give that bloodline a name, we call them vampires quite often because their nature is vampiristic, the way they treat people. And, unless they want something or they're just meeting them to put on a good impression. But once they get to know you, they're like, yeah, this shit again? You haven't stopped acting like that? I wasn't a good example? Okay. Carry on, then. I love it when people say, I'm just like you. No. And men will say this, first off. Or we're the same. No, I think it takes male genitalia to act to the name, what I would have said, but didn't say. But I just said, no, we're not the same. Nobody's identical. You know? There's a song I sing for God that I almost played it again by INXS, Never Tear Us Apart. To me, that's my song for God because I made promises with my soul that nobody can take out of me, and they've tried and tried and tried and tried. Now they don't try to do that anymore. They just do things to me because they know they can't get their way with me. It drives them flipping crazy, no matter what they do and say, you know. It's like Doug was telling a friend of ours last night. I worked with the guy's mother. She was my head nurse in a treatment center. And, well, anyway, he was talking to him last night, and he had just got involved with a woman. He was telling Doug that she's a Christian, but she used to do crack, but she has to do like blood tests, or not blood, urine tests every week. And I was just talking with Doug in the morning yesterday about the dangers of having people around with the hard drugs. It's now, pot's legal in my state, but if you have people that are like meth heads and crackies around you and they catch you with that, whoever, if they're in your house or in your car, you're responsible, and nothing you can say is going to help you. And Dave was kind of not really wanting to, but here's what Doug said that was untrue. He said, they never change. They're always the same. Once a crackhead, always a crackhead. No, no. And that was the mistake that Doug made, because Dave's sober now for about, I think, going on 10 years. And he used to do a lot of hard drugs and drinking. And so he hung up on Doug after about the fourth time Doug told him that. And I told Doug, I said, you know, it's been like 60 years alone. Well, he had a girlfriend a long time ago. Long story. And became handicapped, and a lot of bad things happened. But anyway, he's been alone for a really long time. I told Doug, you have a companion. Why wouldn't you want him to? Now he's aware, yeah. He's aware that he can be responsible for that type of thing. But just like with him, maybe he loves her, maybe he sees God in her heart, maybe she's a really nice lady, and you could have really just hurt him. You know, maybe they're good for each other. And then I told him again, you have a companion, don't you? Wouldn't you want, it's just like me. I want people to have relationships. You know, that's a good thing in this world. You know, so, yeah. And the closer we all can be, even as friends, and help nourish that for each other in our lives, with and through other people, the more we actually do that, the better off everybody's going to be, you know. And then I was thinking maybe Doug's afraid that he would bring his friend around and his friend and I would like each other, and that is a problem with him. He does not want me to have a friend, especially a female friend, that I can relate to. But God did give me 4 granddaughters and a beautiful daughter-in-law. So I do have 5 women in my life that love me, you know. So that's a good thing. I'm sure I'm in their prayers, you know, as they are in mine, you know. But it does get hard not having that female companionship that really, I just wanted to have a family and be left alone on this planet. That's all the hell I've ever wanted. Aside from a really good friend would be nice, you know. But they would have to be honest. And they would have to love God. I mean, that's the two. If you love God, you're going to be honest, you know. Because you'll feel compelled. I compel you, you know, to be honest. It's hard to face other people and be honest with them if we fail. But you know what's harder? Being honest with ourselves. Getting down to the core issues of what's going on inside ourselves. Like, did I say or do so? That's a little fucked up. Yeah, I better remedy that. You know, how closely do we examine ourselves for God? You know, when we're out here speaking to other people. You know, you ever going to hear a rabbi tell you that, first off, Moses was an actual person, but they can say that he was. It was an area of people. It was the people of Moses, and that's how the book was originally written. They've taken, if they leave or take out spots, it changes the context entirely. I've said this over and over and over, and people are following the laws of Judaism that doesn't apply to the Gentiles. We got the new word, the new book, the Christ Spirit in us. We were blessed with that already. People were born with that, you know. You don't have to search for it. You just activate it. And that's, you know. Rabbis got some, they're intelligent. And I have friends that I would consider friends that I love. But it's just going to take them a while to realize that they're on an equal playing field with everybody. It's just like if you take a Nephilim, the Nephilim, and compare them to a human being, they don't see themselves as lesser than a human. They see themselves as superior, but they got demoted. They're on an equal playing field to give them the opportunity to rise because of their mistakes. So if you're not making mistakes as a human, you're going to excel anyway. And they don't want you to, because the ones that are actually in league with Satan love the control that they have in this world over mere mortal humans, you know, because they know what eternity is. It's the average person that doesn't, and that's what they're trying to take out of people's lives, you know, that feeling, that activation of knowing. Like the older you get and you can feel yourself getting closer to God, you can feel Him almost like hugging you. Like I like to liken it to a California raisin. You're a grape when you're born. The older you get, it squish, 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 you're all dried out and your bones condense into dust, and then the particles are back with God. You know, it's like taking that grape and squeezing it, and the electricity goes out, and that power, which is your spirit, is with God. Now, whether or not you believe that you're going to have a glorified body when you get through learning what you're learning here, I believe we do. I can't prove it to you. It's like I said before, I've existed before and I'll exist again because I know I've done it before. I can do it again, but I can't prove that that's a fact. And I also can't prove that it's a fact that I'm not here out of any kind of punishment. And maybe some of you feel the same way. Maybe you feel like you're actually here on a mission to speak to people, to give them the opportunity to rise above. And for the ones I don't call lost, you're young. You don't know. And people aren't telling you. So just activate that stuff. And I'm gonna shut this down, folks. Take a couple more hits of my wedding cake, and it's fat free. All right, everybody, have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Peace, and I love you from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.